Okay, good morning, third graders. We are going to move on in our lesson about data, and we're going to talk about mean and mode. But this is lesson 7 in chapter 7. Now, before we go on to that, I would like to review a little bit exactly what mode and range were, because these are four statistic terms that we need to know and really understand. Okay, the two that we already learned, we learned mode when we were talking about line plots, and we learned range when we were talking about line graphs. And today we are going to be talking about median and mode. But first, let's do our review. Okay, so this should be somewhere already in your notebook. Mode. The mode for a set of data is the item that occurs most frequently. Now, you can have one mode, which a lot of times you will have. You could have two modes or three modes, or you might not have any mode at all. Okay, so how would that happen? Well, look at the examples I have here. The first example is you have a data set that includes the numbers 1, 3, 3, 3, and 4. So you start writing all of your answers down in order from smallest to largest. And then what you do is you look to see which of these data items, in this case it's numbers, occurs most frequently. And we only have one that was an answer of 1. We had 3 that was an answer of 3, and only 1 that answered 4. So in this particular data set, since 3 is the only one that occurs frequently, in fact, it occurs the most frequently, 3 is the mode. And there's only one mode for this first data set. Now, for the second data set, you were given 1, 2, 3, and 4. None of these repeat. So if you have values that only occur once and never repeat, no one ever answered 2 or no one ever answered 3, then you have no mode. Okay? But what if you go to this third example where you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different answers? 2 were answered 1, 2 people answered 2, and 3 people answered 3. I'm sorry, 2 people answered 1, 2 people answered 2, and 2 people answered 3. Now, even though there's the same number and none of them occurred more frequently than the others, just by virtue of the fact that they repeated, this particular set has 3 modes. The 3 modes are 1, 2, and 3. So if the answer doesn't repeat and they all equal the same thing, but it's only one value, then there is no mode. But if you have a second one and a second one and a second one, there could be 3 modes. There could be 2 modes. There could be 1 mode. There could be no modes, like in this example here where none of them repeat. Okay, so that's mode. Let's talk about range. Range. Range is the difference between the greatest and the least data in your set. So it tells you how spread out the data is in the responses that you got. So here, look at this example. We have this was the one where we were talking about the ages of the kids in the drama club, or how many years they lived in the town. That's what it was. They asked the kids in the drama club how many years they lived in the town that the drama club was located in. And some people said 7 years, some said 8, some said 9, 10, and 11. Actually, this was how old they were. I remember now. This was how old they were, and they surveyed the people in the drama club. And Some kids, some numbers said they were 7 years old, some said 8, some said 9 years old, some said 10, some said 11. What you don't have to pay attention to with range is you don't have to look and see how many times somebody said 7 or how many times they said 8. All you have to do is take the largest value, which was 11 years old, and subtract the lowest value, which was 7 years old. And when you do 11 minus 7, you get 4. So the range is 4. Okay? The range is 4. All you do is take the highest value minus the lowest value, and that tells you the range. Okay. Now we're going to go on to today's lesson. Today's lesson is lesson 7, and it deals with median and mean. Let's talk first about what median is. Median is the set of data. Actually, the median is the middle number in a set of data when you list the data in order from smallest to greatest. So here's an example. A survey was taken and 2 people, and whatever the question was, let's say it was, how many books they read a month. Okay? 2 people said they read 2 books. 1 person said 1 book, 3 books rather. 1 to 3 people said they read 4 books a month. 1 person said they read 5 books a month, and 2 people said they read 6 books a month. So to find the median, you just start matching the numbers up. First, you write them in order from smallest to largest. Notice that I wrote 2 twice, and that I wrote 4 3 times, and I wrote 6 twice. So that's how you list it. 2, 2, 3, 4, 4, 4, 5, 6, 6. Okay? Then what you do is, I did it with colors, but you could do it with your fingers. You could match up end to end. Then go in one with both fingers. Then go in one with both fingers. Then go in one with both fingers. And the middle number, in this case, is a 4. The middle number for this data set, the median number, is 4. Okay? 4. Now, if you have an odd number of values, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I have 9 values here. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's very definitely going to be a middle number. But what happens if this middle number wasn't here? Okay? Well, what you would do is that means you would land in between this 4 and that 4. So what you have to do in that case is you have to add the 2 numbers together and then take half of it. So the 2 numbers in the middle would be 4 and 4. And if you add 4 and 4 together, you get 8. And if you took half of 8, you get 4. So in that case, you would still get a median of 4. But what if this one wasn't here, this red 6? So now you have a 2 and a 6, a 2 and a 5, a 3 and a 4. Well, we have 4 and 4 again. I want to try to wind up with a different number in the middle. Let's say that we didn't have, let's say our numbers were, let me write it again, 2 and 2 and 3 and 5 and 6 and 6 and 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to do one more, and I'm going to make it a 2. Let's say you were given this set of numbers here that I wrote in pencil. 2 and 2 and 2 and 3 and 5 and 6 and 6 and 7. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 numbers in this set. So if you matched up, you'd match up a 2 with a 7, and a 2 with a 6, and a 2 with a 6, and a 3 and a 5, and there is no middle number here. So what you would do is you would add the 5 and the 3, and you would get 8, and then you take it in half. So out of this particular set, coincidentally, the median would be 4. So if you have an odd set of numbers, there's the number of add-ins or the number of items in your data set. If you have an odd number, it's very easy to see the median. If you have an even number, it's not so easy. So what you have to do is you have to match them up, list them in order, size order from lowest to highest, and then you're going to, when you get to the 2 in the middle, you're going to add them together and then divide them in half. And whatever number you get, that's going to be your median. So if you have an even number of items, you have to do the adding and dividing. If you have an odd number of items, then you just go for the middle number. That is median. You should pause the video and go back and write down what I showed you for median. I'll show it again at the end. Now let's figure out mean. Pause your video now and copy down what I have here on this sheet for mean. Mean is the same thing as an average. So you have to think back to our lesson on division, because that's where we learned how to do averages. We did that in our division chapter 4. So pause your video and copy this down in your notebook. And then start it again and pause it and copy this down in your notebook for median. When you have both of these copied down, restart your video. Okay, so now you have both median and mean copied down in your notebook. You already have from previous lessons mode and range. Okay, so the mean is really the same thing as an average. What you do is you take all your values and you add them together. And then your sum, which is the answer to that addition problem, you divide by however many items are in this set. So when we were doing like test grades, we would add up all the test grades and we'd get an answer, and then we'd count how many tests there were, and we divide by that number, the number of tests. Well, that's exactly what you're doing here. So look at this example. We have 2 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 6. The same set of numbers that we had on our previous one. When you add all of these together, 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 3 is 7, plus 4 is 11, plus 4 is 15, plus 4 is 19, plus 5 is 24, plus 6 is 30, plus 6 is 36. So when you add all of those numbers up, you get 36. Now you have to count how many items there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm going to take my answer of 36 and I'm going to divide it by 9 because I have 9 items. And 36 divided by 9 is 4. And we know that from our related multiplication fact. 4 times 9 equals 36. So our mean is also 4 for this set. Now, it was a coincidence that the two medians came up to 4 and this mean comes up for 4. They won't always be equal. Sometimes they will, but not always. Okay? All right. Well, sometimes, if you should have your textbook open to page 239, sometimes they're going to give you a table, a tally chart, and you have to figure out how to find the mean according to that tally chart and find the median. Sometimes they'll give you a line plot. Remember the number line with the X's on top, and you have to figure it out. So let's look at a line plot first, since that one's a little more challenging. Let's say you were given this line plot. It goes from 2 till 6, okay? I have 2 people over the 2, one person for 3. It doesn't matter what the question was. This was the answer. Your book says the question was, she decided to survey her class to find how many books they read in the past month. Oh, I thought I made that up last time. I guess it was in the back of my mind. So 2 people said 2 books, 1 person said 3 books, 3 people said 4 books, 1 person said 5, and 2 said 6, okay? That was their responses to how many books they read in the last month. We're going to now find the mean and find the median. I'm going to turn this around, and you're going to look at this paper now so I can write on it. Alrighty, so here again you can see your line plot, and now we're going to find the median. So you should pause the video and copy this down if you haven't already. To find the median, you're going to write the data from least to greatest. So look at number 2. For number 2, there are 2 people, so I have to write 2 and 2 because 2 people said 2. Then 1 person said 3, so I write 1, 3. But look how many people, 3 people said 4, so I have to write 4 and 4 and 4. And 1 person said 5, so I put down 1, 5. And then 2 people said 6, so I have to put 6 down twice. Okay. So now let's check to make sure I didn't forget anybody. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pieces of data in my set. Items in my set. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 items in my set. Again, so that means I didn't miss anybody and I didn't repeat anybody. Okay, so now I'm going to find the middle. So I start here and I start here. I go to the beginning and cross off 1, then I go to the end and cross off 1. I cross 1 from the beginning again, 1 from the end. 1 from the beginning, 1 from the end. And this is what I'm left with. So the middle number here is my median. Okay, it's 4. Let's say we were given a different data set. What if we were given a line plot that had, let's look at this one in our textbook. See that one in the textbook? It has a 1x over the 1, 2x's over the 2, 3x's over the 3, 2x's over the 4, and 1x over the 5. So I'm going to write those on my chart. So you're looking at number 3 on page 239. I'm going to write it here. So we're going to take that information, and we have 1 person said 1, so I put 1, 1. 2 people said 2, so I put a 2 and a 2. 3 people said 3, so I'm going to put a 3, a 3, and a 3. And 2 people said 4, so I'm going to put a 4 and a 4. And 1 person said 5, so I put 1, 5. So you match it up again. 1 from the left, 1 from the right. Another one from the left, another one from the right. Another one from the left, another one from the right. Left, right. 3 is our median for this particular data set. Okay? Now, what if we had one that was, let's say, in addition to all of that, we also had, let's say we had another 1 over here and another 1 over here. So then we would cross off, I'll put an X this time, on a 1 and the 5, and a 1 and the 4, and the 1 and a 3, and the 2 and the 3, and the 2 and a 3. So my middle numbers were a 2 and a 3. So a 2 plus a 3 equals 5, and then 5 cut in half equals 2 and a half. 2 and 1/2. So in this case, our median was 2.5, because that's the middle number between 2 and 3. Remember when you were younger and you were getting a countdown and you say, you would count back to 0 and you say, when I get to 3, you better all be in your seats. And I'd go 1, 2, 2.5, 3. Okay, so what's in between 2 and 3? 2.5. Okay, now let's say we were given a line plot, and that same line plot that we just used up here, we're going to use the same line plot up here, and this time we had to find the mean. I'm going to add one more 6 to the group because I don't want to keep getting the same answer over and over again. So now I'm going to start with my high numbers. 3 6s is going to be 18. So I'm going to write that down on my paper. I'm going to turn my phone this way for now so you can see everything. 3 6s equals 18, right? 6, 12, 18. Then I have 1 5, so I'm going to add a 5 to it. Then I have 1, 2, 3 4s, and 3 times 4 is 12, so I'm going to add 12 to it. And then I have 1 3, and I have 1 2 1s, so that's 2. And I'm going to add all these together. 18, let's see, 8 and 5. Let's do 8 and 2 is 10. And 5, 3 and 2 is 10. So that's 20. So I put down my 0. I regroup my 2. 2, 3, 4. So my number is 40. Well, now I have to count because I'm going to divide 40 by something. So I have to count how many x's I have. And that's going to tell me how many I divide 40 by. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I am going to divide 40 divided by 10 because I have 10 items in my set. And everybody knows that 40 divided by 10 is what? 4. So our mean for this particular data set with 2, actually, I thought this was a 1. So this is actually going to be, I'm going to make this a 1 here so that it matches up with what we did. 1, 2, and 3 is 4, 8, 12, 16, 21, 27, 33, actually 18, and 5 is 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 31, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. So that gives us 40. And we're going to divide by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that's how we get our median. Our mean, rather. So let's review this whole thing now. Let's go back to the front. Okay. So we're going to review everything. If you were going to find the mode, you are going to list all the set numbers in the set, and the one that occurs most often is your mode. You might find that a response was only given once. A whole bunch of people gave different responses and none of them were repeated. And if that's the case, then there is no mode. But if you have a couple of responses that were repeated and they happen to equal the number of times that they were repeated, like in this case, the same answer, 1 came up twice and 2 came up twice and 3 came up twice, well then in this case, there's 3 modes. So the number of modes can change depending on your data set. Range. Range is how spread apart all the answers were. So you take the highest value minus the lowest value, and that is your range. Now today's lesson again, median. Median, you first calculate the median by writing all the values, however many times they occur, from lowest to greatest. Then you match up your ends and you work your way towards the middle, moving your finger to both sides or crossing them off, one from this side, one from that side, one from this side, until you wind up with the middle number. If you have an odd number of items, your middle number will be very easy to see. But if you have, like we did in this one I wrote in pencil, if we have an even number of items, then what you have to do is you have to take your two middle, since you don't land on a single number, you have to take the two middle numbers, add them together, and then break them in half to find your median. And then finally, the mean. The mean is the average. So you take out all the values, you add them together, you count how many items there are, how many values, and then you divide your sum, your total, when you added all those numbers, by the number that are in the set. And that will give you your mean. Okay, now you're going to do practice.